All right. So this is the Damonte Ranch 2018 ACT math portion of the first page of solutions. So page 24, we're just going to do questions number 1 through 7. So starting with number 1, Marcus is making a recipe. And when I compare the eggs for the number of servings that he's making, it takes him 3 eggs to make 6 servings. Now, one way to solve this problem is to create a proportion, but it's okay to also look for patterns, and sometimes that'll save you some time because he then is making 5 eggs and trying to find out how many servings that would be. And you can kind of notice as you look at this that that really the number of servings is twice the number of eggs. So this number right here has to be twice 5, which would make that 10. And so the answer for number 1 is C, 10. Now, alternatively, if you don't like that, you could choose to make a proportion, cross multiply, do a little bit of algebra in here, and get that 3x is equal to 30. And when you divide, you're still going to get the same answer. But one of the things that will really help your score in the ACT is to find ways that make the problems faster. So looking for patterns is a really good method to do that. All right, number 2, there's a history club, and there are 35 people in the history club, and they want to choose a student representative randomly, but it cannot be any of the 3 officers in the club. Hiroko is not one of the officers, so is eligible to be chosen, and we want to figure the probability out that Hiroko would be randomly chosen. So when you're doing probability, on the denominator, you want to consider the total number of people that we can consider. And on the top, we would be looking for how many people are Hiroko. Well, there's only one person that's Hiroko. And in this situation, there are not really 35 people anymore because we cannot include the 3 officers. So there are 32 people. And so K is the right answer. It is interesting to note they did list 1 out of 35. And so they are aware that people maybe would read this too quickly and miss that information. All right, number 3. We have these 2 expressions that are equal. And not only are they equal, but they have the same base, these 2 exponential equations. Since these expressions are equal and their bases are the same, the only way that can happen is if the powers are also the same. So we need to figure out what is x that would make these 2 powers both the same, or would make the 2x plus 7 equal to 15. One way to figure that out is to set up an equation where 2x plus 7 equals 15, and then you could solve that equation by using some algebra. And that would allow you to find out that x is 4. Alternatively, what you could do is you could plug in numbers. There are these 5 numerical answers, and since we are starting off with an equation, you could plug them in. Now, I do want to give you a little hint. If you are wanting to use the strategy of plugging in numbers, rather than starting at the top number and plugging in that number every time, start with the number that's in the middle. ACT orders their answers typically from the smallest numerical value to the largest, quite commonly. And so if you start with that middle number, in this case of 11, and you plug it in, remember, we're trying to see if we could get a power of 15. 2 times 11 is 22, plus 7 is 29, which is too large and cannot be 15. Because this one was too large, it doesn't make any sense to continue to test larger numbers. Instead, I would test one of the smaller numbers. I could then test B. I could use 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 7. That gives me the 15. That is an alternative way to find out that this answer is B. Number 4, I have this function f, and they give me an expression or a rule for that function, and then they want me to find f of 3. Well, this 3 right here is in the same position that x would normally be in, and all that really means is that wherever there is an x in the expression for f, you should replace that with the 3. 3 is basically an input value. So what we would end up needing to do is 5, and then wherever x used to be in this original expression, which was here and here, I'm just going to replace it with the new input of 3. At this point, I would strongly encourage you to not spend your time actually doing this computation. You are all allowed to use calculators, so I encourage you to use your calculator. You can actually type this just how it looks into your calculator, and you will get the correct answer, which ends up being J, -60. If for some reason you really want to do it by hand, just make sure you use correct order of operations. We would focus in on the parentheses first. After parentheses, we would do exponents. And since my parentheses and my exponents are in different parts of my expression, I can go ahead and do both of those things really quickly. As I do the parentheses, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Next, I would do multiplication or division from left to right. I should save that subtraction for later on. I'll get 45 minus 105, and that will give me the -60 that I would also get by inputting this on the calculator. All right, question number 5. We have a wallet. It has 5 $5 bills, 7 $10 bills, and 8 $20 bills. And it was returned to an owner after it was found. The owner is going to randomly pick one bill from the wallet, and we want to see the likelihood of getting a $20 bill. This is a probability question. So on the denominator, I want the total number of bills. On the numerator, I want the number of $20 bills that we have. Well, there are 8 $20 bills. That's going to be our numerator. And in terms of the total number of bills, we have 5 $5 bills, 7 $10 bills, 8 $20 bills. If I add that together, 5 plus 7 plus 8, turns out I have 20 total bills. That's not one of my answers because this can be reduced by a common factor of 4, and so that I can get the final answer of 2/5, which is D. Number 6, the ABC Book Club charges a $40 fee plus $2 per book read in that month. So for that book club, there's a $40 fee that you're only charging once, and then $2 per book for that month. And that $2 is going to be multiplied by a variable because you could read more than one book. Easy Book Club has a one-time fee of $35 and then paying $3 for a book. We want to find out in 1 month how many books they could read so that they are charged the same amount. If you'd like to use a very algebraic approach, you can go ahead and set these two equations equal, or these two expressions equal, and then solve that equation for B. If you're pretty good at your algebra, you can do that rather quickly and find out that the answer is 5. However, if you are not great at solving equations, another strategy that might be a better one to try is to test out answers. Start with the middle answer and test it out. Substitute in a 5 for B. And what you'll find out is that each time you get $50, which is the same amount, and that's what we're trying to find out, is for them to both have the same charges. And again, that's just more reinforcement that H is the correct answer. If that value that I'd gotten was not the correct answer, I could try plugging in other numbers. All right, our last one on this page, parallelogram ABCD. AC is a diagonal, and ABC is 40 degrees. They labeled it for us, which is nice. That's a time saver. And angle ACD is 57. The one we are trying to find is this one right here. You might notice that missing angle is in a triangle with the 57 degrees. And as a reminder, all 3 angles in a triangle add up to exactly 180 every single time. In a parallelogram, the angles that are opposite each other are also congruent. So angle D is 40 degrees, just like angle B. I can now focus in on triangle ABC. And all 3 of the angles in this triangle must add up to exactly 180. 57 and 40 so far add up to 97 degrees. If I subtract 97 from 180, there are 83 degrees that are left remaining, and that must be the answer for our missing angle. So our answer for this one is D, 83 degrees. If you would like to see the next page, you will have to go to a different video, as it is just one video for each page.